What is up, bro?
What's going on?
How you been?
Tired.
You excited for retirement life?
Yeah.
21 years.
21 years. Long chapter in my life coming to an end.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are you leaning more towards, like more bitter or more sweet?
Sweet.
Yeah?
Leaning more towards sweet. It just means more time with my family.
Yeah.
Being able to actually go out and explore with my kids and my wife, go adventures without having to worry about is my leave going to get approved or
Yeah.
having to ask somebody else
Just
if I'm
do
allowed
you.
to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're ready to just live.
Oh yeah, man.
So how long do you do, Derek?
So in total, I joined in May of 2005. So I'm at 21 years, 2 months, and 20 days.
21 years, and you still look like you're a child. Stressful military career?
Like
Oh,
you have
yeah.
your good days, you have your bad days, you know?
So lead into that. Good days and your bad days.
Yes.
How many times did you go downrange?
3 deployments.
3
I
deployments.
did 05 to 06. That was actually ended up being a 16-month deployment to Mosul, Iraq, and then down to Baghdad, Iraq. 08, 09 in Iraq, we're in Bakuba, and 11, 12, I was in the Kunar province in Afghanistan.
Would you say any of them changed your thinking of life?
My first deployment, you know, right off the bat, first mission, first day out of the wire, like cherry ass private, you know, first mission I went on, I earned my CIB.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And what is a CIB?
So CIB is a combat infantry badge. Infantrymen are awarded this badge for receiving contact and returning fire. My first mission was a sniper ambush, or actually it's a VBED initiator to a sniper ambush. This is probably day 8 in country.
And how long were you in country that first time?
First time was the unit did 16. I did 13. I joined a little. I got there a little bit after they got there. We're deployed out of Alaska. So
13 months.
13 months.
And as far as war,
daily
engagement.
Yeah, daily.
And how did you cope with that?
I leaned into and relied a lot on my training and the leadership that I was with. Relied on their experience and their leadership to get me through that first one.
And what would you say that first tour, what did combat teach you then?
That was my first experience with death. Not just like, you know, family members passing away due to old age, but first time seeing what war really does. You know, what is the worst case scenario? Yeah. I turned 18 in basic, turned 19 second month I was in country.
That's not what you expected.
No, man. You know, you like growing up, like, you know, September 11th happened. I was a freshman. And, you know, 2003 is when we actually kicked off that shock and awe, right? And then my older sister was in the service. She deployed in 03 with that initial wave. So I only knew what I saw on TV, and I only knew what she was able to show me and tell me.
So would you say it's the same for everybody when they come back?
No, it's definitely not the same for everybody.
So that look in your sister's eye, was it the same that she used to have before she left?
No, she left, you know, cheerleader, like great student, like always had great grades. She came back, she was, I'll say, more hesitant to open up. She definitely held back a lot of stuff when we talk about it, you know, because I was just a civilian. You know, you ask those dumbass questions like, "What'd you see? Did you shoot anybody? Did you get shot at?" You know, but I looking back now, I can definitely see the standoffish when it comes to actually how much she wanted to tell me.
To the time you were coming back, what do you think that you? Who were you when you came home?
My first deployment, to be honest, I was Superman. I was untouchable.
Yeah.
Right. I went through so much on that first deployment. I did a lot of growing up on that first deployment. And you have to, like, there's no room for second guessing. There's no room for questioning, you know, the orders from above, you know, and everybody that gave me the orders, I trusted with my life.
Yeah.
So you had to do a lot of growing up. A lot of shit's going to be in your face that you don't see every day. And you gotta deal with it and then move on, you know?
So going into after your first deployment, how much time did you have before your second?
Just under a year, probably about 11 months for training. Yeah, it was back to back. Like we got back, I think it was November of 2006. and we left April 2008.
How long was your second deployment?
Second was just under a year, like 11 and some change.
And how was that compared to your first?
A lot different. I went from my first deployment just being a regular grunt line infantry to I ended up joining the reconnaissance platoon. So I ended up going as a recon.
And then that's first in, right?
Yeah, I mean we had so our whole year in Bakuba, we did TST missions, which is time sensitive targeting missions. So we did nothing but raids. All we did was raids. Probably halfway point. That's when we lost our first guy. On our off times, what we would do, they would have the scout platoon take all the people going from leave, and we would convoy them to Balad, and they would go on leave, and then we would come back. So we run skeleton crew, which is very minimal manning, right? Everybody else in the belly of the strikers that we had, no weapons. They're just there to go on leave. 5 people per truck that had weapons, and you had 8 or 9 inside the truck as we take them to Balad. There was a road that we went down. It was about a mile and a half. I want to say about a mile and a half. We call it the Gauntlet. And it's completely wide open. It's one road, and it's trash berms on both sides. That was a crazy day. It was a normal day. It was just everybody's just chilling. We had music blaring through our Bose headsets. Should be an easy mission, right? Down and back. We ended up taking a left on that road, and that's when I think it was 3rd Vic ended up getting hit with the EFP. Oof. So EFP went through the side of the striker into the engine and then hit across the street. What it actually did was hit the engine, blew the engine hatch on top of our driver's hatch. So our driver can't get out now. EFP is like a copper-shaped charge. Think of it as like a massive slug, a slug round.
So it's molten lava pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So there's no stopping the blast.
No, burn that striker to the ground.
Wow.
8-wheel vehicle, up armored. I think we rolled with 50 cals in the turrets and Mark 19. So yeah, your drivers, your TC, which is your gunner, and then your squad leader hatch next to the gunner, and then your 2 air guard hatches for security in the back. There was PFC Fine, and Specialist Ryan was the driver. Ryan was the TC or the VC vehicle commander. It just burned, right? So we're listening on the headset, and we stopped. After we got hit, we tried to push. It was a kill shot, right? The truck was completely dead. So we maneuvered our vehicles to provide the best 360 security that we could. We dismounted and cleared the nearing houses that were right off the side of the road. This one will never leave my mind. You can hear Fine, the driver, couldn't get out. Truck's on fire. And he's calling on his headset that he can't breathe. And so that one got me. Hopelessness, like you can't do anything, right? So we got up there, lifted a bunch of us tried to lift the engine hatch off. We ended up getting it, pulled him out, and then Ryan was standing up in the air guard hatch when he got hit. He got burns to his face, to his hands. So we ended up taking both of them and then putting him into our Vic. So we moved all the people that were going on leave to another Vic. Took both of them and brought our medic in with us. As the medic is trying to do triage on them, we're the only Vic that turned around and went back. And we're probably felt like 30 minutes away from the FOB. FOB Warhorse is where we were. And it was one Vic by itself in the middle of Iraq, just hauling, right? And we're just trying to get to the cache as quick as we could. We get there, get them airlifted. The other part of the convoy pushed forward. They went to Balad to drop off their packs. And then we went with the QRF, the Quick Reaction Force, back out there to kind of do a BDA, the blast damage analysis. Fine ended up getting, I want to say it was like 3rd-degree burns in his lungs. He ended up going back. Walter Reed, Brian got pretty bad burns on his face. He ended up recovering. I believe he's still serving right now. But Fine ended up being stuck in the hospital where he passed. less than a year, maybe.
How old were you now this time?
20 or just turned 21.
So the matter of graduating high school, by the time you were 20, you were on your second deployment.
Yes.
Tragically, on your second deployment, you lost a young soldier. Yeah. Coming home, what was the hardest part?
That feeling of not coming home with everybody we came with. Some people call it survivor's guilt. I don't know what to call it, how to put a label on it. For me personally, definitely changed how I looked at people.
Was that a dark time in your life?
It was in the moment. I mean, I still talk about him all the time. You know, I still keep in touch with his ex-wife and his daughter, right? I think the more that I spoke about it, and you know, with my buddies that were there, it got a little bit easier. That was a rough day.
What would you say about that, hitting on survivor's guilt and the anger or the grief that came with it? Why did you blame yourself?
You know, I wish maybe if I would have looked, we could have spotted something. I look at if we were a little bit faster, we could have got him out quicker. Maybe we should have drove faster coming back to the fob. And yeah, there was just millions of things that I know that no matter what we would have done, I don't believe it would have been a different outcome.
Would you say the reason why you're able to get past it, even though you're not 100% through it, is talking about it?
Talking about it 100%. I preach to a lot of my fellow vets and guys I served with that I know are struggling. The more you keep it in and you just start pushing it deeper and deeper down and try to put that lock on it, you know, that lock's going to break and it's going to come up at the worst time possible, right? The more I speak about it, I tell my stories. It's okay to feel these ways, you know. It's okay to be upset and be angry, but like I said, the more you hold it in and you keep it to yourself, that's when those thoughts start coming in, right?
What helped you heal during all the loss, and we didn't even get to the third deployment.
Yeah.
But with all the loss in your career, deployments, what was your grounding moment? What was the time where you were like, I can't stay here?
Before my third, it was my boys to my left and to my right. I leaned heavily on them because they knew what I was going through. And that was the biggest thing. I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody who didn't walk in my shoes, who wasn't there with us, who didn't experience. You know, I can't talk to. In my opinion, I couldn't talk to like a finance guy. No offense, you finance people out there, but I couldn't talk to finance, right? Because they didn't do what we did, right?
Yeah.
So it's like talking to, you know, a wall. Like you're not getting what you expected as in a return, as a reply. You know,
and then that probably built up animosity and anger.
Yeah, that's more frustration, right?
Yeah, because they served with us, right?
Yeah.
But what frustrated you, they didn't do what you did.
Yeah.
So to them, we made that name. What was that name? Fob it.
Yeah.
Someone who never went outside the wire.
Yeah.
So getting out now, knowing that you do have something set and your eye on a business, for the veterans out there that are struggling, that are suffering in silence, and those who are getting ready to get out or those who are already out, what would be advice you would give the soldier who suffers in silence? What would you say to them?
To the ones that suffer in silence, I would tell them to get out of that mentality. It starts with you getting out and being okay with asking for help. That was one thing that I think I did really well, is when I knew I needed help, I asked for it, knowing, because I grew up in that old school mentality, right? That old school army. I came in with BDUs, right? So that type of leadership that I had, you know, it was frowned upon asking for help. But I realized that more of my buddies that were getting out that never asked for help, a lot of them, you know, made that ultimate decision, you know, unfortunately, you know, rest in peace. But then I was like, I have to ask for help, right? Because I can't help myself. There's somebody else out there that can.
If you can save one person right now, the viewers watching this, and it is someone who is suffering, how would you help them? Or how would you guide them?
First off, it's just asking that question. Like, hey, like, you know, letting them know, like, hey, I notice. Like you're not going unseen. Like I noticed that you're hurting, you know, and it starts with that conversation. You know, it doesn't have to be with the therapist or in some VA clinic somewhere. Just a one-on-one. You know, just talking to them and letting them vent, getting that out. Right. I believe once they get that out, they'll start to understand. Like, all right, cool. That felt good. Like getting that out, and then having somebody on the other end understand what you're feeling and what you're going through.
All right. So at this time of your career, you have a third deployment.
Yeah.
Right. Third deployment. Tell me about that third deployment.
Yeah. So at this time, I'm now stationed in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii.
How old are you?
20, 24.
What was your last deployment? And now when it's you,
say a victim of war. Yeah, definitely. I would say victim of war, right? So, like I said, the platoon sergeant stayed back. My squad leader moved up to platoon sergeant, so he moves Vicks. He moves one Vic back, and that puts me as a team leader in the squad leader seat. So I took over the third squad.
Why did you do that? Was it random?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Just he didn't go on that mission. There was something he had to do. And it was a simple mission, right? It's always these simple missions. You think they're just like, oh, we'll be gone for an hour and come back easy, right? It was literally, the mission was we were going to go and check on a Afghani police checkpoint, right? So a CP. And we're just going there to talk to them, see how they're doing, any issues coming up, how can we help? And it was literally 2 miles from our cop. So it wasn't far at all. So we go out there for about.
You guys walked or?
No, so we drove.
Okay.
So we did a mounted patrol out there. We got there, dismounted, and put up security, and then just started doing a KLE, a key leader engagement with their police chief, right? So talking to them and get the word, hey, we're going to RTB, return to base, right? So we load up in the VIX and we start driving, and it was me as the vehicle commander, my driver Mina, and then to my back left, so we're in the MRAP. So the MRAP is a super top heavy Vic, right? Bacon was my gunner, and then I had on the side seat, I had Walker, who was our RTO. I had Lidgard, who was one of my riflemen. And then we had my other team leader, Jametto, my Micronesian hero right there. Love that guy. So we're driving 2 miles from our cop. So it wasn't far at all. So we go out there for about.
You guys walked or?
No, so we drove.
Okay.
So we did a mounted patrol out there. We got there, dismounted, and put up security, and then just started doing a KLE, a key leader engagement with their police chief, right? So talking to them and get the word, hey, we're going to RTB, return to base, right? So we load up in the VIX and we start driving, and it was me as the vehicle commander, my driver Mina, and then to my back left, so we're in the MRAP. So the MRAP is a super top heavy Vic, right? Bacon was my gunner, and then I had on the side seat, I had Walker, who was our RTO. I had Lidgard, who was one of my riflemen. And then we had my other team leader, Jametto, my Micronesian hero right there. Love that guy. So we're driving back, and I remember just bullshitting with him, right? My biggest pet peeve is iPro. I learned this from my first deployment. My old sergeant major, he was big on iPro, right? Always have your iPro on, right? So that's something that was just built into me. So I remember my boy Walker took his iPro off, and we're just bullshitting. Everyone's just, talking shit to each other. And I looked back and I was like, Walker, put your iPro on. And as I said that, so I say, Walker, put your iPro on. And I look back, and then next thing I know, I hear this loud sound, and then a white ball just come and cover my face, just like that. And then the force threw me into the FBCB2. I cracked all three layers of screen. Like my Rhino mount went straight into that. And I think I was out for like maybe 8 seconds before I came to. And then I looked up, and it was just a cloud. I couldn't see. And once the dust settled on there, I started talking to see what's going on. And it's weird, like you hear in the movies, or you see and you hear in the movies, like that concussion, how it sounds like. It sounded like my voice was super deep and super slow. Like, man, what are we doing? Like, and I was talking normal, right? So I was like, wow, what the fuck do I sound like that? I remember taking my headset off thinking it was that. Still not knowing I knew we got hit. And the first thing I remember saying was, are you fucking serious? That was it. And then I look around, and then all I can see is I look back. So in the MRAP, the gunner's platform is like 2 feet, 3 feet off the ground because it's a taller vehicle. So that has to be a little bit higher. And I remember looking back, and then all I could see was Bacon from his waist down. I couldn't see anything else. And then I look back, I see Walker, his face is just covered in blood. And I'm trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And then I remember looking uh, at my driver, and he's a 19-year-old kid, you know, first deployment, no clue what's going on. It's his first time getting hit. I remember staring at him, and he was giving me that, like, that oh shit, you know? And I remember telling him, like, stop looking at me like that, man. Like, what are we doing? And I remember him yelling at me, um, what do we do? And I kept trying to tell him to push forward, but we were in the back of the convoy. The convoy just stopped, which you never stop on the X. And that was one mistake that I knew that we made. Um, what had happened was, like I said, we were one road in, one road out. So as we were coming back the one road, to the left side of my Vic was a mountain. It's where the mountain starts going up. To the right is like a 25, 30-foot drop off into the Kunal River, right? They had an IED tube set up with an RPG-9 shot, so the double shot charge. One of it was it punches a hole through the armor, shoots another round, and impacts, and it goes off on impact, right? So it had actually went through our two little windows in between Bacon and Walker, right? And ripped across my gunner's front, and then impacted behind my seat. I want to say probably like 10, I would say less than that, probably 5 inches behind my seat. So it hit right here, and the blast came this way. That's when I saw that white ball. It was actually a flame, like a ball of flame, right? So once I figured out kind of like what just happened, then I started kicking into what I've been trained, you know, like a daisy chain of CLS going on, right? So I had Ligard ended up taking shrapnel into his left shoulder because it went right through his left side and in between Walker. So Walker took shrapnel, he's like peppered in his face. Shrapnel hit Bacon. So I had Walker put pressure on Bacon's wound, or on Ligard's wound, while Ligard was putting tourniquets on Bacon on his legs, right? Because I didn't know, I thought Bacon was dead. All I saw was red on his pants, but that drop, right, on that platform went straight down. So all you saw was like this. So this is his feet, and his body was drooped down on the backside. And as I'm doing that, I remember Mina, my driver, was yelling at me. He was like, Corporal. I was like, what, dude? He's like, put a fucking tourniquet on yourself. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? And I remember looking down, and there was so much blood, I could not see the pattern of my uniform. It was just blood red. The whole pattern was gone, all the way to my gloves. And I looked down, and I was like, oh shit. So I'm putting a tourniquet on myself, high and tight as much as I could. And then since Bacon was down, I couldn't communicate with the Vics in front of me, because when the wires for our radios were right behind me, and they all got severed. So I'm having Mina, hit on the horn. I'm punching the window. I'm like, fucking move, right? In front of me, Badger. Never forget this dude. Badger's looking at me over the turret, and I'm yelling at him, punching, like, let's go. So I had Mina start pushing. So let me backtrack real quick. So we ended up driving, and it had just rained like the week prior. So there was puddles. And the biggest thing is you don't drive in puddles, right? And I don't know what happened. We ended up driving through a puddle, and there was crush wire that went into the puddle and then ran up the side of the mountain to initiate, right? So we ended up hitting it. So that's why we got hit. And then I just remember getting back and pulling into the cop, and the two Vics in front of us split, And then we went through and went straight down to the aid station, and they had litters already set for us. They didn't know what the fuck's going on. We couldn't communicate, so they just put like 15 fucking litters out there. And I remember getting out of the Vic, and it was kind of a little bit more dramatic than what I wanted it to be. So you have your harness, right, and your seatbelt. So you went to unlatch it, and I went to swing out, and then my vest got hooked on it. So it's like a 3-foot drop from the MRAP getting out of that thing. And so I'm hanging there like this, just covered in blood. And so I get unhooked. My main focus, they were telling me, get on the litter, right? They're saying, Fee, get on the litter, get on the litter. And I was like, fuck no, get Bacon out. My only mission in life was to get Bacon out of that truck because I did not know the severity of his injuries, right? So once they got him out, I ended up getting on the litter, took us in the A station, started cutting us up, cutting our clothes off, trying to figure out where all the wounds are. So I ended up taking shrapnel to my left forearm and across my back. I just remember seeing Bacon across from me, just soaked in blood, and I've never seen so much blood outside of training aids. You know what I'm saying? Just I could see the holes in his legs from the amount of shrapnel that went into him. Thank God nobody died. Nobody in my truck died. Everybody made a full recovery. That changed me. Like that could have been it. Medevaced us out to Fob Wright. Fob Wright had Navy SEAL medics and doctors, like they're fucking doctors, right? So they had Navy SEAL. They operated on me. I remember going in and coming out, and the guy was cool. He was like, "Hey man, I got a sat phone. You can call your wife." I'm so doped up from all the meds and stuff they gave me. All I remember was my wife's number. Out of every number in the world, that was the only one that I could remember, right? So I dialed it. She answered, which she was back in, I think she was in Alaska. She went home to Alaska to stay with her family while I was gone. And I think it was like 3 a.m. her time. I'm trying to talk to her, and it was just mumbling, right? And then, so we were recovering for about 2 weeks before we were done. We're like, we got to get back to the cop. So we recovered. We ended up having to do a follow-on recovery at Fob Joyce, which is where our battalion PA was. And we were to the point, like, we're like, dude, we want to go back, get with our boys, go back. So we try to hop on any flight. I'm wearing sweatpants, just a white Hanes t-shirt that they gave us, and my first time ever wearing Crocs. We got on, we ended up running into our company commander just randomly, and he was on his way back. And we were talking to him like, sir, like, we need to come back. Can you please get us on this flight? He's like, fuck it, let's go. All we had was our helmet. Helmet and some Crocs, right? So we got back, talked to our people. We had a huge operation that was going off, was about to jump off. It was Operation Hammer Down. And our cop ended up being the jump off point. So all the companies that were involved in this operation staged at our cop, and then SP from our cop to start the mission, right? Obviously, I could not go. I was still with a cast, right? So I stayed back and worked in the talk, right? Running radios. Yeah, we were fired up, and this is month 3. So
how long was this last deployment?
About 11. Yeah.
Yeah, because the drawdown came mid-February where they were like, hey, this is no longer 12 months.
Yeah. So we had that. So that's month 3. So the whole battalion is out in this valley, the Waterport Valley, clearing from top down, clearing, Taliban camps is what the mission was. At least 10 that we knew of.
Jeez.
So I'm sitting back, the mission jumped off, everybody's gone, and we were hammering them. I'm telling you, we had 777s, field artillery, just punching them, right? The elevation that they were at was so high that the Apaches and the Blackhawks couldn't go that high. I think it was like 14,000 feet. A lot of that time, they were out there just humping it, just walking, and once they got to the top, they started working their way down, but they took contact. It was a hot LZ. So they took contact the second they, touched down. We lost 7 or 8 guys. Mission. So it was supposed to be a 72-hour mission. It turned into a week. That week we lost about 7 or 8 guys.
Just firefights.
Just firefights, man. So I'm back at Hanukkah Miracle, listening to the radio. So I'm listening to all this, and it sucks because I can't be out there with them. I'm just hearing all these radio calls. The cannons were the 777s were on our cop. They're going off nonstop. And I remember we were giving it to them. Like, so what their plan was, the Taliban was, all right, well, we're going to punish Hanukkah Miracle. We're going to give them everything we have. So they call all the birds back to us and leave them. We didn't do that, right? So we just took it. There was days we was 360 getting hit from PKMs, AKs, RPGs, mortar fire, recoilless rifles. So as we were getting hit, we still have a mission going on, so we still have to do our job. I remember getting off shift from the radio guard, but I remember him coming in. He was a little bit late. He was like, "Hey, brother, I'm sorry I'm late, but can you stay here a little bit longer? I have to go out there and resupply the guys real quick, and I'll come back." I'm like, "I'm not doing nothing else, man. I got a cast on, right?" I was just going to go back to my room and go to sleep, because you got to sleep when you can. So I'm manning this radio, and then he ends up coming back, and I remember I started walking to my room, and you could just hear it. 107 recoilless round just screaming in, and it actually impacted in my room. It actually hit my bed. So it came through the ceiling and then impacted on my bed. So if you come into the hallway, turn right, it was the first door. And on the right side was my room, or it was my bed. And I shared room with Germetto, my other team leader. And man, that concussion hit hard. That's that you feel that hammer in their chest, right? So
what did it end up doing to you?
I would say just concussion blast.
You got thrown?
Oh yeah, it pushed me. Like the way we walked through, it was probably like a 3-foot walkway.
How close were you to the blast?
Like 20 feet, about 20 feet from the room. I was on my way to the room, and I was going to go sleep because I had the night shift, right? So that hit, and I just remember like, oh shit, it threw me into the wall. And then I got up and ran back to the talk to tell him what happened. And so I'm sitting in there, and my room is just on fire. The whole thing burnt down, everything I had. So this is what I think really changed my thought process and my mentality. All my photos of my kid, my daughter, my wife, gone. So I had nothing, right? And I remember going back, and our supply guy, I can't remember his name, but I remember the supply guy coming in and was screaming. He's like, "Fiatoa's room's on fire. I can't find him." So he was trying to kick the door in to try to see. He thought I was in there. My shift was off, so he knew I was supposed to be in my room, but he couldn't find me. Then he ended up seeing me in the talk, and it was all right. And then we put the fire out, and now I'm left with my uniform, my plate carrier, and a rifle, a cast, right? So this is still month 3, right? We're probably going into month 4. Between that, my arm ended up getting infected again because it's an austere environment. It's not the cleanest, right? No. So I had to go back to get surgery. And once I got done with that surgery, they sent me all the way back to Bagram, so I can get refitted with new gear, right? And that took about a month. And in that month, I was mandated by our battalion PA that I had to go see combat stress, because I had so many
shit happen.
Yeah, it was a cluster of shit happened in such a short amount of time. They're like, I was like, I don't want to go fucking talk, man. Like I just want to get back. And they're like, you're not leaving until they clear you. So I was like, all right. So I go talk to this. It was a colonel. It was an Air Force colonel, and we were just having our meetings. I remember going to rehab while I was at Bagram, and then getting sent back to Jalalabad, where our brigade was, right? Working the J-Lock, just answering phone calls, right? Sidelined, right? So that was a big shot to my ego. Big, hit hard. I started isolating myself around people who ain't fucking just went through what I went through. So in my head, that ego kicked up, and I was like, man, y'all don't know shit. So I put that mask on, man. And then I just remember wanting to combat stress, ended up prescribing me some medication. So on top of the sleeping aid, the anxiety meds that they gave me, and then on top of the antibiotics. And I remember going back, and at this time, like, I got removed from the platoon, no longer a team leader. I got pretty much kicked off the team. That hit me hard. I think that crushed any whatever strength I had left. That hit me. So I ended up getting sick, right? Just the flu, right? All those medications. I remember, I'm like, man, I'm about to throw up. So I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And I remember opening the door, and then I blacked out. And then I woke up. So our cop that we're on was in like a courtyard. So it was a square, right? We had a courtyard in the middle. And I woke up being carried by 4 people to the aid station, not knowing what the fuck just happened. So I ended up having a seizure, right? And lucky for me, one of the Afghani workers that we paid was cleaning one of the rooms, like the hallways and stuff, found me. So I ended up having a seizure out there. But it was a medical induced seizure, right? So all the meds mixed together caused me, it lowered my threshold and made me more susceptible to have seizures. So I ended up having a seizure out there. So on top of that, you can't be here no more, man. You got to go. You're completely separating me from my brothers, maybe going into month 5.
Sheesh.
Right? So they ended up sending me to Fob Joyce for the battalion, and they put me in BDOC, which BDOC is you just run the gates, tower guard. You know, shit work that nobody wanted to do, right? After that, I was like, I'm done. I can't do this no more. I was mentally burnt out. I mean, 3 back-to-back, and they're all 3 kinetic deployments. So I was burnt out. My wife was like, we have a brand new baby. Like, you're either going to get out of the Army or you're going to change your job, right? So that's what I did. Got off after 2014, joined the reserves. I realized I was not ready for a civilian world. That was the biggest culture shock for me. And we struggled, man. We struggled a lot. I hear it all the time. The leadership is like, have a plan before you get out. I got out off of emotions. I'm just done. It's got to be better on the outside, right? We got back from deployment, continued to see mental health. But this one, I go back and, you know, they put me in front of this captain who didn't go on the deployment. I think the worst part about it is having to retell the story
over and over
to somebody new and getting told, all right, well, go talk to this guy, and then retelling that story. So I'm talking to this guy, and I had to see him for 3 weeks. And every time I would tell him a story like I'm telling to you right now, he was like, I have no clue. I can't relate to you. I never deployed before. I'm like, why am I here? That goes back to why people struggle to ask for help, you know, because you'll run into those people who don't know what you've been through. That was how I felt, you know. So I remember getting back. We were back for like 3 months, and then I got orders to PCS to Fort Hood. So I ended up PCSing to Fort Hood, where I had my second child, my youngest, McKinley. And that was I'm officially done with the infantry world. Because I was only stationed at Hood for like a year and a half, and I probably spent 9 months of that year and a half in the field, and gunneries after gunneries. And anybody that's done gunnery know how shitty gunnery is if you're an infantryman, right? When I was too big to sit in a freaking Bradley turret, right? So I was dismounted. So I don't do nothing until table 20. That's when I get to work, right? So I just do bitch work, cleaning firing pits, you know, running, you know, gate guard, or just some, you know, stupid stuff. And after that, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm getting out. And we ended up moving to Vegas. I joined the reserves, straight from active, and it was a culture shock. We struggled, man. Like, now I'm 27 at the time, 27, 28 maybe. I have 2 kids and a wife now. And I got out, and we lived with her brother for 6 months, and then I just tried to figure it out.
So you're experiencing life post-Army for the first time?
Yes. Yeah. And
what year was that?
That was 2014. And like I said, we moved to Vegas, and we just wanted to get our own place, right? So I ended up working 4 different jobs. You know, I worked personal training at 24 Hour Fitness in East Vegas. I worked countless security jobs, because there's not that much that infantry world translates into the civilian world, right? Top firefighter or a security guard, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't my path, right? So I remember we couldn't afford a house. we couldn't afford an apartment, you know. So my wife and daughters ended up going back to Alaska to live with their parents until we could save enough money to be able to be together again and live in our own place.
So again, like another deployment.
Yeah, it was 7 months. I didn't see them for 7 months, and I'm stateside, right? So that was played heavy on my mental.
Would you say that was your breaking point?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, I struggled mentally. Yeah, I felt hopeless. I felt like I was less than a man. Can't even, I couldn't provide for my family. I knew it was a mistake. But I ended up, luckily, that's when I found out about AGR, Active Guard Reserve. And I ended up getting accepted into that program, which put me back on active duty status, which brought my family back together. I ended up having to reclass to supply. So I did that for about 4.5 years. Picked up my E6, staff sergeant, and then got stuck there, just wasn't promoting. And I spoke to a career counselor, and they told me about being a career counselor. And class of that, we got stationed down here in Fort Hood again. But now as an E7 Sergeant First Class career counselor. So off my career doing that.
Yeah. So now it seems like, man, just your story, the transition from a boy to literally you learned what it was like to go downrange, get out of the military, live a civilian life, struggle in that world. So would you say it was like almost like a prison after you got out?
Yeah.
Because you yourself had to find yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then the military is more of a mental prison for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were trained to do what? Especially infantry, war.
Yeah.
So we're getting out the second time around. Look at you now.
Yeah. No, I think it was going through all those, trials and tribulations in my life, I think made me better prepared for this go around, right? Starting something that I'm super passionate about with, RZN, super passionate about, and then starting that prior to getting out. That way it's an easy transition.
You're also a coach on the outside world and a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. Is it possible to heal? And how do you do it? And what is your advice on healing?
I think it's definitely possible to heal. I think like I said, I think it takes you as the person to come to that conclusion that I am hurting, I am not the same, and then seek help. Like, be able to, if you can't help yourself, you can't help others. You can't help your family if you're struggling yourself, right? So having that ability to ask for that help, to fix yourself. And not only does it better yourself as a man, as a person, but it benefits your family. Your kids will see you in a different light because now all they've known is an angry dad. I definitely think it's helped me, and it's definitely possible for everybody. Yeah, asking for that help is definitely step one. Understanding yourself that you want to get better. There's something wrong, you need to fix it, and then seeking that help to fix it.
About this podcast, mm-hmm. What do you think through their lens is going to do for men and women that serve this country?
I hope through this project that there's a vet out there that's going to watch this and be like, that's me. I can relate. I'm going through that same issues right now. And I'm nobody special. There's no secret, ingredient to fixing this. It takes work, but you have to have that dedication, that determination, and that consistency to seek that help and stay with it, right? I hope I can relate to a lot of people, that'll help them understand that they're not alone. They're not the only one that's suffering through this. There's a lot of us out there that are suffering, but there's only few that are willing to ask for that help. Like I can't preach that enough. Like asking for help, and like I said, it doesn't have to be through some VA appointment. Just talking, right? Talking to your buddies, talking to people who understand what you've been through. I think that's the biggest key. Not holding it in. Members. Yeah, anybody that needs help, that's my passion. I have, acts of service is a core value of mine. Being able to help others, being able to help as many people that, due to the fact that I didn't have that you know, when I was going through it. But now that I know that it helps me, if I can help one person, that'd be a win in my book.